The decommissioning chamber lacked any sign of anyone's occupation until Harvey stepped out of the room and slowly began walking down the hallway, only to come across three female operatives who seemed to be living or talking about buying expensive outfits and other girly stuff until they saw him walking by. "Oh, hello, Harvey. Or should we say goodbye, Harvey?" One of the girls taunted as they all began laughing at his expense. But something strange and creepy had happened. Harvey began to laugh too, but it didn't sound like at all like Harvey's voice. What freaked the girls out even more was that the thing began morphing back into her form, an alien, who was disguised itself as Harvey. "I don't think that's Harvey," the girls said, screaming as they ran away for help. Then the alien pulled out a ray gun, shooting at them, thus trapping them into gigantic glowing cubes, all while with that deep, distorted laugh. All of a sudden, and he quickly sprinted away. "Sir!" Fanny yelled frantically to Abigail, hyperventilating. "There's an intruder attacking the moon base. We must take action immediately." Suddenly, that alien jumped onto her, and she began yelping. Scared for her dear life, Abigail didn't back down, although she bravely took her musket and squirted mustard all over the contents of the weapon and onto the creature, causing it to recoil and jumped off Franny's head. Abigail then took a look down at the yield sign boxing glove on the other end and then rushed at the alien, making swinging and stabbing motions with the pole as if she were a knight, wielding a sword at her enemy. "Back, you vicious external freak! Back!" she shouted. Kana continued until the retreated into the walls as Abigail chased it down. The small life form had continuously shot beams from its ray gun, trapping the bystanders and into its way into cubicle molds. "Hey, number 5's not finished with ya, fool! Get back here!" Abigail shouted before taking another giant leap onto the creature's head, landing on her feet onto it and then quickly jousting at her pole, and then its face slowly walking towards the space creeper in a threatening way. She emitted a low growl, which turned into a cry of defense as she left off the boxing glove. Luckily for the alien kid, it was able to retreat quick enough before the boxing glove was brought down to its head. Finally, it left the headquarters as Abigail smiled snootily. Well, once that the fight scene had ended, Fanny then led her to all the kids who were trapped inside their cubes. They were crying to be freed as Abigail thought of something. "These appear to be some sort of gelatin. Let me get a pin, number 86. Fanny nodded and then searched for her pockets, finding a small but sharp thumbtack, which Abigail used to pop the cubes and free the operatives. "Thanks, number 5, one of the girls said, and they shook hands with Abby. "That thing, it posted that brat Harvey and then ambushed us. If there is one, there's probably lots more of them out there," Abigail advised. "Those flyers were true. Then come on." The girls exited out of the building, leaving Fanny and Abigail to breathe a sigh of relief. "Yeah, did a good job, number 5. Rachel would have been so proud." Fanny then beamed a little, a memory of her old friend Rachel bringing her to tears in her eyes as she wiped them away and sighed. "It wasn't even a week since she reassigned, and I dearly miss her already." In response, Abigail patted the Irish commander's back. "I hope she's doing okay too. At least for now. She's getting the relaxation that she really deserves." Nigel sat on the carpet in front of the bed, probably watching some cartoon or action film on his television. He yawned a little. Then he was met with the sound of meowing and pawing at the door. "That must be my new pal calling for me," he said, rushing to the door and opened it. And sure enough, number 9L was at the door, looking down at him and smiling at the cat of the sort of way. "Hey there, girl," Nigel cooed as the giant kitten pulled him into a rather soft, fluffy hug, purring on him like a big living massage pillow. After they pulled the snuggle, number 9L stood on her 4 legs and gestured Nigel to come with her, which he gladly did. They stopped when they saw number Infinity put up his hand in an authoritative manner. Then he spoke. "Since you both are fairly new here, that everyone on this mothership are preparing for the combat to our next target world, it's time for the newbies to train. You will be taking them to our little arena, where you will engage yourself in several rounds of practice. Follow me. The area number Infinity mentioned was fairly suspicious. As soon as the two entered, it became almost pitch dark, before the floor lit up with many vibrant colors aligning the floor, surprising Nigel and number 9L. They looked around for such a beautifully epic scene. Nigel chuckled with excitement. This should be good. Welcome newbies to the Galactic Kids Next Door practice range, greeted a booming voice. Here we will be testing your skills. Agility, physical strength, defense, timing, and coordination. Now, time after time, we will send different holograms of adults and adolescents, unlike after you. And now it's your job to fend for them off as best you can. But remember 2 things. First, there's a maximum of 5 rounds in the training process, each of them getting progressively difficult. Secondly and lastly, these holograms were programmed to be changeable, and if you touch them, they can touch you. Good luck. The shown then down from the ceiling and set onto the weapons. Nigel chose the ray gun, putting it in his pocket, and 9L pulled out a massive dagger, which she attached to one of her tails. They finally both saluted, and the electronic voice emitted from the speaker above them. Loading mission. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the two heard it. Distant yelling coming from the right, and that could be louder and more audible by the seconds, depleted from the timer. Not taking any chances, Nigel pulled out his ray gun and shot the figure square on the shoulder as soon as they came to sight, in turn causing the hologram to flinch slightly, but quickly shook it off and then put it to their fists. Nigel then was slugged right on the side of his face as he put the gun back in his pocket, and then put up his dukes. The two landed all kinds of blows on one of the other in the close combat, and another adult form ran up behind Nigel in an attempt to attack him. Number 9L then roared in a mighty roar, slashed the second enemy, causing it to fade into thin air. Once Nigel had finished with his opponent, the timer buzzed and the first round was done. They were given a 60-second break before round 2 could begin. This time, several teen ninjas then came into view and started swinging. 9L then stomped on the round of the teenage tyrants, bumping Nigel off the ground each time as she did so. 9L also noticed this and leaped into high air, slamming her paws onto the floor. This gave Nigel enough wind to shoot most of the teens, while being sent through the mid-air. Then plummeting back down to the ground, air kicked the remaining ninja as they dissolved. Rays were then fired, and blades were then swung for the next 3 rounds. Nigel was flat going to town down with the range and his new teammate. And throughout what may have gotten cut or bruised out there, enjoyed every last moment of this, and it was hyped for the real battles to come. As the final timer buzzed, the door to the room opened. Congratulations, number 1 and 9L. You have completed the training. Head back to your quarters now. Time to rest. We got big days ahead of us. After getting his cuts and bruises patched up, Nigel went back to his room with a pleased grin on his face. He looked at number 9L, who then had patches on her body. You did good, number 9L. Very well back there. The cat purred as the kids praising comments. Sweet dreams, he whispered affectionately, before heading off to their beds for a long rest, preparing for tougher battles ahead. Okay then, team, those galactic freakoids could attack any second now. I want you both to look your fiercest, or whatever perilous jeopardy in the near future has to offer us. We may be uncertain of the near future, but I know one thing for sure, in fact, it's dangerous. So like number 10 told us through the news, put on your kid face, and because they're coming after us. Hoagie preached his remaining Sector 5 operatives, who downed their serious face. Sir, yes, sir! They stood up upright and then yelled in a military fashion, saluting as they did. So are we gonna sit on our lazy butts and let this planet and those ones once perish under the boots of some sort of called organization? Sir, no, sir! Kooky and Wally shouted once again. Okay, so what are we gonna do something about it? Sir, yes, sir! They shouted for the one last time. Hoagie ordered them to pick out their weapons of choice and geared up. Shortly they came wearing militarily bandanas, custom combat boots, and a touch of war paint underneath their eyes. Coogie was carrying one of her gumzookas, while Wally was carrying other than the blazer. All set, sir, Wally smirked. Great, now follow me to the Kula bus, and we shall have some space beasts to do it. Hoagie then gestured them out of the treehouse with the musket in his hand, and then once they entered the giant heavy metal modified bus, they took off into the air, proceeded to patrol the skies and on the ground above and below. Back at the T&D hideout, Maurice and his buddies were also up in arms with handmade guns, rocket launchers, and several 2x4 weapons. Remember Chad with those monsters up there? God knows if he's still fighting for his life, Maurice reminded them. And as of now, it just sounds as to come down to their pawn, Tycho said, polishing and dusting off the weapons. That leads me to think. Maybe a position those space kinders were chosen ones of Z past, Annie speculated out loud. It could be that way, Murray said, somewhat agreed. They tried to kill us regardless. Under some spell or not, they're still potentially powerful beings, Marie said, only for Marie to stand up and begin boasting, ranting. Listen up, mate. We may not be as advanced and intelligent as those buggers are, but we are no scrawny things. We're teens, and specified ones who have stuck together and looked out for our foes with ease since we were young tots. And we're not giving up for the entire bloody world at risk now, are we? Absolutely not, and you're right, Murray. I have been waiting for this opportunity to halt in their filthy tracks for a good while, and we're not going to pass that on. Pick up a weapon. We're heading out. Lincoln, have you heard from your sister at all lately? Don't reckon seeing anywhere where Mai drove me to your house yesterday, Carla said was on her smartphone, sitting down in the Maxworth residence. Can you keep a secret, Carla? Of course I can. I recently just found out where little Abby currently resides in their organization. Oh, what's that? Apparently she's now the highest rank of them all, Supreme Leader. So now she works at the moon base. Lol, it's gonna be being so much fun, figurative. See ya, free. Cree then smiled on the other end. Yeah, I hesitated to find out because of you know what, but she's my sister, so I made a bit of sense to check on her. Oh yes, wait a second. Carla, is something going on over there? Carla looked out the window of the sitting room. Outside the broad daylight, more than at least 100 armored kids were marching down the streets with their weapons in hand. There could be thousands of little tykes, all around behind another, at least one kid over a megaphone, who shouted commands to them. What's that noise? Cree texted. Take a look outside your window pane. Cree did and saw a giant crowd of line of children marching by her house, seeing her younger sister at the very front, yelling for a red microphone. Or megaphone for that matter. Look at all of them, little manists. Lincoln, don't you suppose this is a little series? Like I'm supposed to take kids seriously. All the kids on the mothership had formed a single file line, including Nigel and number 9L. They all donned the space helmets, wearing some sort of armor, and all carrying their weapons of their choice, waiting for their first command. Attention! Number Infinity shouted, getting all the kids' eyes on them. The time is drawing near, fellow operatives. In less than 10 minutes, you'll be sent towards planet Earth to launch our first attack. Number 1 and number 9L, you both will take a swift dive through the Earth's atmosphere, mostly to ambush any opponents in the air. You'll be assisted by me, 74.239. Number negative Upstream, number Ordinal, and number Normal, and about 30,000 million of our operatives will tackle down the face of the Earth. And most of you who have each have a location populated by humans and battle the Earthbound opponents. Most operatives can be called down if necessary. Is that clear? Yes, sir, the operatives exclaimed in an illusion, saluting. Spectacular! Now when given the order, you will descend to your opponent's home. "Sir, yes, sir!" they exclaimed once more. Suddenly there was a downhill shift all around. The mothership was descending, but steady in pace. "Operatives, prepare for descent to battle." The operatives then loaded their weapons tight, and Nigel climbed onto number 9L's back, clinging to her collar, but not before tightening his space helmet in a determined way. A hatch door was open, and Number Infinity shouted, "Go, go, go!" 300,000 kids leapt out of the mothership. Portion by portion, they swooped down towards planet Earth, creating a formation of their spaceships as they did so. Back on Earth, all the kids were around the globe, successfully prepared for the intermittent combat as Abigail, Fanny, Hoagie, all watched for the remote signs of alien life. In less than a few minutes, the sound of millions of spaceships fled to the atmosphere. It got louder and closer as Abigail shouted through the microphone, "Prepare for battle, fellow operatives! Go, go, go!" All the sectors of their leaders stood outside of their treehouses, watching as spaceships surrounding them in the air, weapons cocked. Back in the States, Rachel came out of her home to see everyone off. Needless to say, she felt very proud of her legacy being carried on so far. "Good luck out there, my friends," she quietly said, giving them a salute as they marched away.